And welcome to Work Culture Consultant Podcast. And today I'm really excited to bring on the CEO of FlexScreen's, Joe Altieri. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I'm in Pittsburgh and it's 80 degrees in October, so it's really hard to complain. So
For you guys, that's strange. I mean, I'm in Vegas and it's always hot. So
right.
it's interesting that you guys are also that hot. But
Yes, it should be about 50 degrees and raining right now, but
right,
80 and sunny, I'll take it. So
right, all day.
yep.
So I actually watched you on TV. I
Oh,
saw you on Shark Tank. I'm a big Shark Tank fan, and I watched the whole thing and I loved it. And then somehow, I'm not gonna lie, I just saw you on the feed, on my LinkedIn feed, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I've watched him before, and I clicked, and then your content just happens to be really good. So I was like, oh, well, that's nice, because there's a lot of content maybe on LinkedIn that's not so entertaining. So it's nice to see a CEO utilizing LinkedIn's platform appropriately.
well, thank you. And I wish I could take all of the credit, but I have a tremendous staff that helps to keep me in line when it comes to content. And of course, with any social media, you want to, either educate, inform, or entertain.
Mhm.
And to your point, there's so much boring content on LinkedIn.
Right.
So thank you. I do appreciate the kind words.
Most welcome. So, FlexScreen, can you just tell us a little bit about your company for the people who don't know?
Sure, we are. I actually invented FlexScreen. It's a flexible window screen. So I've been in the window industry for about 20 years, and window screens traditionally, if you have window screens on your house, are probably like painted aluminum window screens, and they're a big pain for homeowners and a big pain for window manufacturers. So this is truly the American dream type
Mhm.
story. There was a problem in my industry. I went into my garage, spent 2 years, nights, weekends, getting dinners out in the garage, just tinkering around, trying to come up with a new concept for a product that was a pain in my industry, and came up with a prototype, showed it off to some people in our industry, and got some investors together, and it just went crazy after that. So we've been manufacturing for a little over 5 years now, and now we have 5 manufacturing plants. We just opened our first international plant in Canada,
Nice.
and then Shark Tank, and yes, so it's been a wild ride for sure. Yes.
I love it. And what I've noticed throughout your journey, even though I've only followed you on LinkedIn for a little bit now, but even with that, I can tell that you have a big sense of love for your not only your family but also your employees, and I do notice
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, and we have manufacturing plants, of course, that we have close to 100 employees that make our product every day, and then we have our corporate office, which are the people that I interact with on a daily basis. I'm in our corporate office right now,
Mhm.
so we have two different groups, and there's also two different types of love that you have for
Right.
those two different people, but like the corporate office staff that I have is very young. We have a lot of creatives, and we're creating content and things like that. And of course, they're very close to my heart. They've been with me for years and years and years, and they're young and eager and fun and all that stuff. And then, of course, our employees that do all of the real work, and don't tell any of my corporate office people that I said real work, but the people that make it happen every single day. And of course, the amount of respect that I have for those people is incredible. Especially going through Corona and dealing with all of those issues. If you have frontline employees, and you don't feel a tremendous amount of a tremendous burden for what they're going through in this, man, I'm not sure that you should be in leadership of any company, because it's serious out there. I mean, there's people are dealing with big issues that we as a people, I've never had to deal with this, and I will never have to deal with it again in my lifetime. But what happens when a school closes down? What happens when, Aunt Susie gets sick and I was around her this weekend? What happens, all of
Mhm.
those different things. And, there's just unique challenges that production employees, plant employees, frontline employees have, that you have to be aware of, and you have to be sensitive to it.
Absolutely.
So
Like empathy and leadership, I feel is a huge deal, especially for a CEO to have.
it is. And I think a lot of times we get We get it as a CEO of a production company, somebody that's making something. We tend to try to think of employees like robots, like, hey, I just turn the lights on and they do their thing, and they have to get certain production numbers, which of course is important. All those things are, getting production numbers out and all that stuff is important, but they're not robots. They're living people. They're humans. They have emotions, they have fears, they have anxieties, the states closing down, not closing, all this stuff affects them. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of ways affects them faster than it would affect my corporate people.
Right.
Like they're just, if the plant closes down because a governor somewhere says, you can no longer work, my corporate office people still work. They still have a job to do. These people are on the unemployment line, and it's scary times for them. So we have to be aware of that and treat them accordingly.
Agreed. Like, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a really great point because, I used to be a blue collar worker. I was a mechanic when I was in the Air Force. And, there's definitely a big difference between how, in some cases, in some cultures, where how white collar is treated and how blue collar is treated. And so with a CEO like you that, understands the complexities of everything going on right now, especially during COVID, and having empathy and, pivoting maybe how you're dealing with your blue collar workers during this time is, they're probably very thankful for you.
I hope so. Unfortunately, I probably will never know because they're not going to tell me differently to my face. But,
right.
But it is, I'm a firm believer of servant leadership. I really am. And I know that's kind of cliche, but we truly try to do that. And I try to push that down from the top down. Just as an example, our manufacturing plant here in Pittsburgh, mm-hmm. We had 2 people in 1 week, completely unrelated, dealt with spousal deaths. And it's, oh my goodness, I just had the one woman come up to me yesterday because we passed a card around, we collected money for her, we gave her extra time off, like anything that you need. And she just came out, she's like, oh my goodness, I've never been treated like this before. And I'm not bragging, what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, but these are those things that it's just one little extra thing. And yes, it affects her life, but it also it affects and infects the culture of the people around, because they see what's going on and they see that we care. And it's not that, we just want her to come back to work as fast as possible because she's leaving a gap there, because of course she does. We all had to pick up the slack a little bit, because when a person isn't there, there's a hole. Mm-hmm. But, we care, we legitimately care about her and want the best for her, and whatever she needed, we wanted to provide that. Look, every single person that's out there that works a full-time job, in so many ways, spends more time at that job than anything else that they're doing in their life. I spend more time working for FlexScreen than I do with my family, out, doing the things that I like. I like riding mountain bikes. I can't ride my mountain bike enough to make up for the time that I'm here at work. So, having an experience every single day that is not just not unpleasant, but is actually as great as I can possibly make it for them, is really important to me. Because, at the end of the day, it is hard to find and keep employees right now. Yes. So even though the unemployment rates seem to be high, mm-hmm. we're actually having trouble finding, production employees. Mm-hmm. So, making sure that they are taken care of and that they're happy or at least satisfied with their jobs is important, not just for me personally, but it's also important to the company, because it takes me so much to find somebody new to replace them. Yeah. I'd rather that they were happy, or again, at least satisfied with their job, so they're not out looking because somebody else can pay them more money than I'm paying them. Right. And somebody else can maybe even give them benefits that are better. But I try to give them a place that they like working, mm-hmm. which a lot of times is worth more than 50 cents an hour or $1 an hour. So yes. It's
so true. I tell clients it's a retainment tool. Culture is a retainment tool. And like you said, there might be someone who might even pay like $5,000 more a year. But at the end of the day, if someone is at least, like you said, not miserable coming into work, at least satisfied and or even, happy to come into work, the statistics are already there that people will stay somewhere for less pay as long as they're happy, but they will,
Yep.
or if they're in a, crappy company culture situation, they will leave that for a lower paying job that is, has a better culture, just is what it is.
Yeah, and the thing about it too, it's a dual-edged sword. When you have a good culture, you can actually expect more out of people because you know that you have something that is desirable out in the workplace. So, we have certain criteria that people have to meet on a daily basis from production numbers. It's just we're a production company. We have to get enough units out every single day to make, to fulfill the orders that we have.
Mhm.
So when we have an asset, which our company culture is an asset, it really is.
Yes.
When we have an asset that is important to those people, I can expect more out of them. And again, not necessarily like I'm not a slave driver, of course, but the likelihood of them, living up to the expectations that I have and that my supervisors have is greater when you have a good culture than it is when you're just like, come to work, okay, I'm going to put in my 8 hours and I'm going to go, I'm just going to do the minimum amount so that my boss doesn't give me a hard time. We never want that. We do things to try to get people to excel. We give away a TV every single month. So yeah, and it doesn't, it seems like a small thing. It's a couple $100s. We go out and buy a nice smart TV, 55, 60, whatever's on sale.
Mhm.
And again, just using our Pittsburgh plant as an example, we run 24 hours a day. So we're running 3 shifts. And so every shift supervisor every single day has to nominate a person that went above and beyond, that had like gets kind of like the attaboy award.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the month, based off of those 3, because there are 3 shifts, 3 people get nominated every day. Somebody gets their name pulled out of their hat. All those names go in, and it's just fun. You know what I mean? To see somebody, it's like Christmas Day. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I want a TV,"
Right.
and it's just, again, it's such a small little thing.
Mhm.
And I have no idea if anybody stays around from one month to another because they hope that they win a TV. Probably not. You know
Right.
what I mean? But it's a fun part of our culture
Yeah.
that just says, "Hey, we're going to reward people that go above and beyond." And we're going to make this job a little bit more fun than working at the gas station down the street.
Mhm.
So
No, and I don't even work for you, but I just appreciate what you do because I love doing these shows because, for the listeners, it's just proof in the pudding, that cultures like this matter. There are CEOs out there who do care for their people and do have these incentive programs to, keep you on board. And onboarding is a huge thing that I deal with. And because it's from day 0, as soon as you put the job posting out, you are showing everyone your culture. And that's how your job description should be set up, is that your values are already like in there sometimes, but that's an option. So speaking of values, what are yours if you care to share?
So what's interesting is we took some personal values that my family and I came up with as our kind of our mission statement for our family. We incorporated them into our company values, and then also into our workers' values. And they are honest, passionate, adventurous, grateful, and healthy. So we use the words instead of saying, we didn't have like this big drawn out mission statement. We're like, look, this is what we want to be as a company. We want to be honest. We want to be passionate about what we do. We want to be adventurous. We're not afraid to try new things, whether it's from the manufacturing side or marketing or whatever the case may be. Grateful. That's just, again, that's part of who I am. This is a company that was birthed out of my garage. Not many people get to say that.
Right.
So I live a life of gratitude. And I try to get that through our culture as well. And then healthy, both from healthy body, healthy culture, healthy mentally. Our corporate office here, again, production, I can't do this, but our corporate office, we have an unlimited time off policy. There's no 2 weeks off. You get 2 weeks paid vacation plus personal days. Like we're all adults, and so. If you want to take a vacation, take a vacation. If you need a day off, just let me know that you're not going to be in. Just make sure that your stuff is taken care of. Now, again, if you abuse that, we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation. If you're taking every single Friday off for the entire year. but it's amazing. Number one, our staff is healthier. You know what I mean? They don't have to worry about trying to, oh, I want to go visit my grandma. Am I going to get the day off? They have healthy lives, for being able to work here. But then I've yet to have somebody abuse that. They're responsible. And like I said, we treat each other like adults, and like we're building this thing together. And it's amazing how well that works. If you hire the right people. I mean, that's the other side of this is you have to have the right people, and you have to be, we've recently over the last year in our corporate office, we've let 2 people go that were fantastic employees, but they were culture destroyers. They were miserable when they didn't have to be. People had tension when they were around. And, we tried to, you try to say, hey, look, you can't act like this. This is really important, all that stuff, to the point where we finally had to say, we have to part ways. And it was painful. And I had a lot of anxiety about getting rid of one of my employees that did so much great work for us. But I have to love coming into work. Yeah. And having a poisonous person in the work culture made it so that I didn't even want to be here. And I'm the CEO, right, let alone everybody that has to work with that person. So that's the other side of the coin is, if somebody is hurting the culture and you can't get them to change, there has to be an exit that has to happen. At least that's my personal opinion.
I 100% agree. I would advise my clients the same. Like if there is someone who that you've, maybe tried to mitigate that issue, you've tried to do some type of remedy, and that remedy does not work, you need to let them go, period, dot. And it sounds harsh, but the reality is this is business. We are in America, this is capitalism. And at the end of the day, if you are destroying, which is my culture, you have to go. Because now you're disrespecting, the culture, the business. Really, if you can't get, in step with the culture that is already good, why would you want to destroy that? Some of us call it, the culture vultures.
Yes. Yeah.
They just want
to. Well, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but the culture that your company carries is in some ways more important than the product that you sell or make. It just is, because if your culture is terrible, you're not going to be making this for very long, or you're not going to have enough customers, because like my company culture comes out to my customers, when they call into customer service or whatever the case may be, I tell my customer service people, I'm like, I better hear you smiling on the phone. And they're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, you can tell when somebody's smiling. Yes. Like, you smile on the phone, be sincere, like enjoy the fact that these people are calling, even when they're complaining. There's a lesson to be learned. There's something that we need to do better. Learn from it. They're not a pain. They're the reason that we exist, is to make that person happy, make that customer happy. Right. And again, it doesn't take people very long. It's about a week of me saying that to a new hire, and then they just get it. It just, or they don't last very long. Right. If you don't want to be told to smile when you're on the phone, you're not going to stick around very long here. Right.
Because that is an important job, and your culture, I feel, very much affects those customer relations. If you have a bad culture, people, it's a vibe. If they don't like coming into work, and then they are, they get that person that's being mean on the phone, that's like, oh, your product is crap, whatever. If that person's attitude because of the culture is already trash, this is just no good. It's not going to work. So if you already have someone who is happy at work, that's a reflection. It's going to show through their customer service, because they're going to hear, like you said, that smile, as opposed to someone who's already disgruntled because they're at work and they don't want to be there.
Exactly. And this goes from customer service, people calling up and saying that, hopefully no one calls up and says that my product is crap, but
it wouldn't.
It goes from there even to, we deal with big window manufacturers, so who of course are paying on terms. And so even when we're doing collections, I'm like, yes, they owe us money. Be nice. That's fine. Smile. It's okay. You know what I mean? Yes, they owe us money. Maybe they're not answering our phone calls. have a good message when you're leaving them a voicemail, et cetera, et cetera. And that you just don't have to, there's no job in any organization that is so bad that people have to be miserable to do it. I'm just convinced that the right person can make any job tolerable. Maybe not enjoyable, but tolerable.
Exactly.
So,
and I feel like one of your values was passion. And I have felt your passion through, of your business, through social media, through this podcast right now. And I would bet money, bet the farm on it, that your people are passionate due to they're happy with their job, but just the way you just, I don't know how to explain it. The way your passion just floods a room probably is a direct reflection of how they act in turn.
I hope so. And I tease my staff, again, young people. And I laugh with them, whether they think it's funny or not. Like, the culture that I bring makes up for the fact that I pay them next to nothing. So and again, but it is, I mean, people will work we're a young company, we're a startup company, so I can't pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars. We just simply don't have it. Right. So there has to be something of value that I bring to them. Of course, they need to live, and I have to pay them a wage that is comparable out there.
Right.
But I'm not, if somebody came to me and said, hey, this company is going to offer me $50,000 more a year, I'm going to go, I am so happy for you. That is fantastic. Please help us with the transition. But I honestly want the best for you. And this is, again, this is my heart, and my staff will attest to this. I want every single one of them to be better off for having worked here. So if they go out and get a better job because now their resume looks better because they worked for us and we were on Shark Tank and all that stuff, hallelujah, fantastic. I did my job. I served them in that way. Right. I hope that when they get those offers, they go, do I really want to take a chance, for $5,000, $10,000? Do I want to take that chance of going somewhere where I'm going to be miserable? So far, the answer is I haven't had a lot of people exit. So far that is hopefully the case, because I know how talented they are. I am sure that they've got job offers that I haven't heard about. Right. But if somebody does have one that is something that I can't compete with, I'm going to go and wish them the best. I'm going to give them the best, review out there if somebody calls me up, because I sincerely want the best for them. And like I said, I hope that feeling comes across to every single person that works for me.
I have a feeling it does. That's what my intuition is telling me.
Well, if nothing else, hopefully they're listening right now. So.
Yes, please listen, Spotify, wherever. So one of the last questions I love to ask every CEO on the show is, having a good work culture, what problem does that solve?
And I had mentioned this before. For me, I want to love where I work. And that is a problem. I know a lot of CEOs that are, and even founders of companies that don't like the company that they started. They don't like the company that they ran or that they're running. And I never want to get there. Of course, I have bad days. Everybody has bad days. But ultimately, I love the company that I have the opportunity and the honor of running. And having a good culture means that I will continue loving this company. I just won't let anybody get in the way of that, because I jump out of bed in the morning and I can't wait to get here. And I stay late, not because I have to or because my email box is full. All of those things, of course, are true, but because I simply love it and I like the people that I work with. So for me, that's the big thing, is if I create a place that I love and I like to work, I feel that everybody else will as well, and they'll want to stick around. So
yes, like you said, with wanting to keep people if they do get a job, and they take that moment to be like, do I want to leave here? Like, this is my family, essentially, my work fam. And there's really something to that. My hero, Richard Branson, has that phrase, and I'm paraphrasing here, that, if you give them a reason, if you treat them right and give them a reason to stay, they'll probably stay.
Yep.
And it's true.
It really is. And I know that your listeners, I'm sure, subscribe to that same mentality, or they wouldn't be listening to you, or maybe they want to. Because like I said, I've listened to a lot of your content and you do a fantastic job. And but it is so important. And I definitely urge any of your listeners that if they have a problem, they should be listening to you on how to change it, because it will transform a company. It really, really will. Changing the culture will change your company.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to plug for you. If you need a flex screen, if you want to go through, you forget that the window is there and you don't want to break your nose or get really expensive new things, get a flex screen, because when I buy a house, that's exactly what I'm going to go buy.
Well, I might know a guy, so let me know when you're ready. So,
Deal. Thank you so much for being on. We'll talk soon.
my pleasure.